Now I'm going to show you how you can create a new level and add stuff to it. By stuff I mean game objects that are already created for you. So within Unity you can click on File, New Scene. Now you don't want to do a new project because you already have the project and you can just add a new scene. And by the way, don't worry if you don't use that scene in your final game. That's okay. You can just have the scenes and never use them later. That's fine. So click on New Scene or Command N and they say to save. So I'm not going to save, no need. And here we go, we have the new scene. And by default, when you create a new scene, you have a main camera and a light. The reason why they give you a main camera and a light is that you always need some kind of a light and also camera to see what we're pointing at. Now, here in the game, you can see what the camera is looking at. But if you go to the scene tab, you can actually see, and if you click on camera, you can actually see the camera here, okay? So, as you can see, the camera is right there, okay? And if you don't know where it is, remember you can always double click on it and it will zoom on it. And then you can press the two mouse buttons down and then go up or down, or the middle mouse button you can use the scroll to be able to scroll in and out. Okay. All right. And as you can see here, there's some kind of a light here, which is the light that we have here, the directional light. All right. Having said that, now let's add a game object. Now, what are game objects? In Unity, I think I already told you earlier, a game object is anything that you put inside of a game, whether it's a camera, a directional light, or a character, or even the land, okay? So know that everything is some kind of a game object. Now, they may not have the same attributes and the same properties, and they may not behave in the same way, but they all are game objects at the end of the day. Having said that, what I want you to do is go inside of the project. If you don't see that, you can always go to Window and bring the project window, okay? And here, look for the vehicles prefab, okay? And when you click there, you see 3 vehicles. What I want you to do, and what are these? These are game objects, but they're even more than game objects, they are prefabs. So you can ask me, what's a prefab? And I don't want to go too much into details because if you barely know what a game object is, I don't want to put your, explode your brain with what a prefab is. But know that a prefab is also a game object, but it's more of a game object that can make multiple game objects. So you can take this and drop it inside and you can make multiple of them. Okay, so what I want you to do is select the car blue prefab and drag and drop it inside of your scene. All right? Now, if you go to the game, you may not even see it. And you may be like, why? I don't understand why I don't see it. I see the object here, right? But I don't see it in my scene. The reason why is that the camera is not pointing on your object. So you need to make sure that the car blue prefab, or the object that you just put here, is inside of the field of view of the camera. So you need to move that. How do you move this? Click on W and now you can move this. Now you have 2 ways to do that. You can either move the camera or move the object. All right? So what I usually advise people is to look at the camera and see where the camera is pointing at. And as you can see, if you click on the Alt key down and you move with your mouse, you can see that the camera is totally not looking at where the object is. All right? So we're going to have to play with this. So you can zoom out, select the object and move it so that the camera will be able to look at it. All right, let's see now. Click on the camera again and see if that's looking at it. And no, we're actually way too far, so you have to play like this. Now, another way is to move the camera itself, okay? So you can move the camera or the object. I usually prefer to move the objects so that it's easier because the camera is more of a problem to move. But that's just for the beginning, okay? And then you can move the camera as you go. And as you can see here, I just played with it and now I see the object in the camera here. You guys see it? If you don't see it much, you can always click on game and now you see the object. Now, if the car is not in the right position, you already know how to modify the car position. You click on the car, go to the scene and double click on it to zoom in on the car and press the E key down and you can rotate it. All right, so that's one way to rotate things. Now, what I want to show you is that you can actually use the inspector interface to move things around. So very simple, click on window and click on inspector and it's on the right side. If you don't have it, that's how you put it back, but you have to have it. So once you see it here, what I want you to do is click right here on the rotation, and if you put for the rotation of the Y, you put 0, then you'll see that it's moving. If you put 90, then it's moving. So you can play with that, or you can go to the side of it and slide, drag and drop like this, and by sliding. Okay, so let me do it again. I click on the Y, and there's the arrows to move it. Okay. All right. So I want you to go ahead and play with that. Okay. So you can play with that. You can also play with the position. Okay. You can move it like that with the X, move it with the Y, or you can just change the number straight here. Okay. Like put 0 or put -10. All right. So that's how you play with the attributes of the object. Now what I want you to do is add another object. So if you go to game, you see your object here, but what I want you to do as an exercise is grab another object and move it. So I'm going to take the taxi, and I'm going to drag and drop it inside of the hierarchy. So there's two ways. You can drop it straight in the hierarchy or in the scene. So let me show you two different ways. That's the thing with Unity. You can take it here and drop it inside of the hierarchy, and here it is, and double click on it to see where it is. Or, and let me show you how to remove it. So just right click and click on delete. Or what you can do is select it. Let me zoom in here. Select the taxi and drag and drop it here. Okay, so you can do it in both ways. All right, so here we go. We have the taxi. Now I personally prefer to drop it straight inside of the scene because I know exactly where it's going to be. Because if you drop it here, if you take the taxi and you drop it inside of the hierarchy, it will be at position 0, 0, 0 usually, or the one of the prefab. The prefab is this object here. Okay, so let me remove that. I press Command D or Command Delete to remove it. And and here I have the taxi. Now if you go to the game, you will be able to see the taxi as well. All right, so that's a quick and easy way to add objects. Now these are not the only objects you can add to a scene. There's plenty of different objects. These were already created by myself in another class, the Crossy Road series for Unity. It's a little bit more advanced, so I'm not going to show that to you how to create that here. This is not the purpose of this class. Here I'm just giving you the basics so that you can get started for any other project. Now there's plenty of other ways to create game objects. You can click on the actual game object menu on the top, and here you can click on 3D object and create a cube. All right, and here we go, we create a cube. Now we don't see it, but if I double click on it, remember you can always see it. The reason why we don't see it is that it's inside of the car, so you should be able to move it by clicking on the W and move it out. All right, and if it's a little bit too small, make sure you click on the R key, and now you can play with the size of it. All right, now go back to the game, and now you can see we have a cube in front of it. So go ahead, have fun, play with it. You have different types. You have a sphere, which is round. Okay, so again, I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to move the blue taxi so that it's easier to see. All right, and here goes the sphere. I'm going to move it, and now click on 3D object, and you can also add a cylinder. Then we're going to add another shape. We're going to add a capsule so that you guys can see the difference between all of them. And the next one we're going to add is a plane. Now you guys know what a plane is. It's just flat surface, and usually that's what you would use to put things on top of it, and that can be some kind of a terrain. Now when I say terrain, I like to use the word lightly because I don't want you to be confused with a plane and a terrain, because you can actually make terrain made out of trees and grass and rocks and things like that, and that's a bit more advanced, so I'm not going to get into this right now. Okay, so there we go, we have our scene, and in the next lecture I'm going to go into the details of the differences between all these game objects and how to make them different from one another.